The dim lights of Nexus 7's lower levels flickered as small hands moved carefully through the piles of abandoned cargo. Kix pressed his thin body against the cold metal wall, listening for footsteps. At only 12 cycles old, the young Villani had learned that staying invisible meant staying alive. His 6 limbs worked quickly, sorting through discarded electronics and broken ship parts. Most beings saw only garbage here, but Kix had learned to find value in what others threw away. A damaged power cell might still hold enough charge to trade for food. A bent piece of metal could become a tool. The sound of voices made him freeze. Through a gap in the stacked containers, he watched humans loading supplies onto their ship. They moved differently than other species, less rigid, more relaxed. They even talked while they worked, something his own people never did. Be careful. With those medical supplies, Daeho, called a woman with graying hair. Her voice was firm but kind. The people on Kepler Colony are waiting for them. Captain Lee Haijin checked her cargo manifest while her crew worked. The Morning Star was an old ship, but she kept it running well. Her crew trusted her, and she took care of them like family. Kix watched, fascinated. The humans seemed to enjoy each other's company. They smiled and laughed as they worked. His own people, the Villani, communicated only when necessary. Emotions were considered weakness. That was why his clutch family had abandoned him here 3 months ago. Defective, they had called him. Too curious, too soft, lacking the proper aggressive instincts that made Villani strong. They had left him on this station like broken equipment, expecting him to die quietly. But Kix had survived. He was small and quick, able to hide in spaces larger beings could not reach. He had learned which vendors might give him scraps of food, which security. Guards were kind enough to look the other way. The humans continued their work, and Kix found himself moving closer. Their ship was beautiful. Not the sleek, sharp design of Villani vessels, but something warmer. The hull was painted with care, and through the open cargo bay, he could see that everything inside was clean and organized. That should be the last of it, said a broad-shouldered man, wiping sweat from his forehead. Park Min-ho had been the ship's engineer for 5 years. He knew every bolt and wire on the Morning Star. Kix's natural curiosity got the better of him. He crept closer, wanting to see more of their ship. The humans had technology he had never seen before, devices that seemed designed for efficiency and comfort rather than just function. A loose cargo container shifted as he leaned against it. The metal scraped loudly against the deck. What was that? Min-ho looked up from his scanner, his weathered face showing concern rather than anger. Before anyone could investigate, alarms began blaring throughout the station. All ships prepare for immediate departure. Station inspection begins in 30 minutes. The announcement sent everyone into motion. Cargo bay doors started closing, engines hummed to life, and crews rushed to complete their final checks. The chaos. No one noticed a small figure slip through the closing doors of the Morning Star. Kix found a hiding spot behind some emergency supplies in the farthest corner of the cargo bay. His heart beat fast as he felt the ship's engines come online. The gentle vibration was different from Villani ships, smoother, almost comforting. As the Morning Star lifted away from the station, Kix experienced something he had not felt in months. Hope. He was moving toward something unknown instead of just surviving another day. For 2 days he stayed hidden. The cargo bay was warm and quiet, and he found water from a maintenance tap. He listened to the sounds of the ship, footsteps in the corridors above, the hum of machinery, voices talking and laughing. On the 3rd day, engineer Park Min-ho came to check the cargo bay sensors. He was doing routine maintenance when his scanner picked up an unexpected life sign. "Hello?" Min-ho called softly. "Is someone there?" Kix tried to stay perfectly still, but his empty stomach chose that moment to make a loud gurgling sound. Min-ho followed the sound and found the young Villani huddled behind the supply crates. Instead of shouting or grabbing him, the human engineer simply stopped and smiled. "Hey there, little one," Min-ho said gently, crouching down to Kix's level. "Are you hurt?" The kindness in the human's voice broke something inside Kix. He began to shake, and tears started flowing from his large compound eyes. He had been alone and afraid for so long that this simple act of gentleness overwhelmed him. Minho did not try to grab him or call for security. Instead, he sat down on the deck and waited, speaking in the same gentle tone. "It's okay. You are safe now. Are you hungry?" When Captain Lee arrived, summoned by her engineer's careful call, she took one look at the frightened young alien and made a decision that would change all their lives. "Bring him to the kitchen," she said simply. "Let's get some food in him first. Then we will figure out what to do." For the first time in months, Kix felt something he had almost forgotten: the warmth of being wanted. 3 months had passed since Kix had hidden in the cargo bay of the Morning Star. The small Villani no longer looked like the frightened creature they had found. His 6 limbs moved with confidence as he helped around the ship, and his large eyes sparkled with curiosity instead of fear. "Kix, can you reach that coupling for me?" called Engineer Park Min-ho from under the main engine. "My arms are too big to fit in there." "Yes, Min-ho-hyung," Kix replied, using the Korean word for older brother that the crew had taught him. He squeezed into the tight space and quickly fixed the loose connection. His small size and extra limbs made him perfect for repairs in cramped areas. Captain Lee Hai-jin watched from the doorway with a small smile. The young alien had learned their language incredibly fast. Within weeks, he was speaking Korean, English, and even some of the trade languages used between different species. More importantly, he had learned to smile and laugh, things his own people rarely did. "The paperwork is getting harder," said Communications Officer Kim So-young quietly, joining the captain. She held a tablet full of official forms. "They want genetic records, psychological tests, proof that he can fit in with his own species. And if we cannot provide those things, they will send him back to Villani space for proper cultural training." So-young's voice showed what she thought of that idea. Captain Lee's jaw tightened. Over the past months, she had watched Kix grow in ways that seemed impossible for his species. Villani were known for being aggressive and following strict rules. But Kix was creative, kind, and solved problems in new ways. He had already helped them fix several difficult technical issues. "Captain?" Navigator Choi Jun-seo approached with a worried expression. "We have company. 3 authority ships want permission to board us." Through the windows, they could see the government enforcement ships staying close to the Morning Star. Their message was clear. They had no choice but to comply. Inspector Valdez was a thin, serious man who seemed to enjoy enforcing regulations. He stood in the ship's dining area, reading from his tablet while Kix tried to hide behind Captain Lee. "Keeping an undocumented alien is a serious crime, Captain. You could face heavy fines and lose your license to operate this ship." "He is a child," Lee replied calmly. "We found him starving and scared. Would you prefer we had left him to die?" "I would prefer you had followed proper procedures." The inspector's cold eyes fixed on Kix. "The young Villani will come with us for processing and return to his homeworld." "No." The word burst from Kix before he could stop himself. In 3 months with the humans, he had learned that his opinions mattered, something his birth family had never taught him. The inspector raised an eyebrow. "Young Villani do not usually speak so boldly." "Maybe that is because no one ever asked them what they wanted before," said pilot Lee Chang-min, stepping forward with his arms crossed. The next hour felt like the longest of Kix's life. The crew stood together, united as Inspector Valdez made calls and checked regulations. Finally, he looked up from his communication device. "There is one option," he said reluctantly. "If a human citizen files for legal guardianship, the juvenile can stay while the application is processed. However, the requirements are extensive, and if you fail to complete the process, he will be deported immediately and banned from human space forever." Captain Lee did not hesitate. "Where do I sign?" As the inspector's ship left, taking with it a stack of legal papers that would take months to complete, the crew gathered around their captain. "You know this will change everything," So-young said quietly. "The legal costs alone will be enormous." "Some things are more important than money or regulations," Lee replied, placing a protective hand on Kix's shoulder. "Besides, he is family now, and family protects family." The words hit Kix like a warm wave. family. He had heard the humans use this word many times, but now he truly understood what it meant. It was not about sharing the same blood or coming from the same place. It was about choosing to care for each other no matter what. Later that evening, as the ship traveled through quiet space, Kix sat with engineer Min Ho in the workshop. They were repairing a damaged circuit board together. "Are you worried about the paperwork?" Min Ho asked as they worked. Kix thought for a moment. "A little, but mostly I am grateful." "For what?" "For learning what it feels like to belong somewhere." Kix carefully soldered a tiny connection. "My birth family said I was broken because I think differently, but you and the captain and everyone else make me feel like thinking differently is good." Min Ho smiled and ruffled Kix's head gently. "Different is not broken. Different is just different. And sometimes different is exactly what the world needs." As they finished their work, Kix looked around the workshop that had become his favorite place on the ship. The tools were organized just the way he liked them, and Min Ho had even labeled some of the containers in both Korean and the Villani language so Kix could practice reading. For the first time in his young life, Kix understood what the humans meant when they talked about home. It was not a place on a map. It was the feeling of being wanted, valued, and loved for exactly who you were. The Villani warships appeared suddenly in space around the morning star. 12 massive vessels with crystal-like hulls surrounded the small human freighter. Their angular designs looked sharp and dangerous against the stars. "Morning Star, this is Hive Commander Zekthul of the Villani Defense Fleet. Prepare to be boarded. Give us back our stolen Hive member immediately." Captain Lee Haijin stood on her bridge looking at the display screen that showed all the enemy ships. Her crew worked quietly around her, but everyone knew the truth. Against 12 warships, their cargo vessel had no chance of winning a fight. "Stolen?" she said quietly. "Kix, stay close to me, too." The young Villani stood taller than he had 6 months ago. Good food and care had helped him grow strong. More importantly, living with humans had changed how he carried himself. He stood straight and looked people in the eyes when he talked. Behavior that was almost impossible for most of his species. "Captain, I will not let them take me back," Kix said firmly. "These humans have shown me more kindness in months than my birth family showed me in years." Heavy metallic sounds echoed through the ship as the alien boarding craft attached to their hull. Soon, armored Villani warriors filled the corridors. Their movements were precise and threatening. Hive Commander Zekthul himself led the group, his shell marked with scars from many battles. When he saw Kix, the commander stopped suddenly. The young Villani stood upright, looking directly at him, something that should have been impossible for a low-ranking family member. "You have been corrupted," Zekthul said in the clicking Villani language. "Your posture, the way you speak. These humans have damaged your connection to the hive mind." "They helped me find my own mind," Kix replied in Korean, deliberately, choosing the human language. The insult was clear to everyone. Several Villani warriors raised their weapons, but Zekthul gestured for them to wait. His many eyes studied the strange scene before him. Human crew members standing protectively around Kix, obviously ready to fight even though they could not win. "This is something I have never seen before," the commander said slowly. "Humans claiming one of our young as their own. He is not property." Captain Lee stepped forward. "He is a member of my crew, my family. If you want him, you will have to go through all of us." Engineer Park Min-ho moved to stand beside his captain. One by one, the rest of the crew joined them. Communications Officer Kim So-young, Navigator Choi Jun-seo, Pilot Lee Chang-min, all of them formed a wall between the warriors and Kix. Even facing trained soldiers with better weapons, not one human stepped backward. Zekthul's jaw parts clicked in what might have been surprise or confusion. "You would die for a being that is not even your species?" "Without question," Lee replied. The Villani commander studied Kix again, noting all the changes that months of human influence had created. The young one had developed far beyond normal limits. His problem-solving skills, his emotional range, his ability to think for himself. "There is an ancient law," Zekthul said finally. "When a hive member's loyalty is questioned, They may choose trial by combat to prove where they belong. But you, small one, have already made your choice. You stand with aliens instead of your own kind. I stand with the people who saw value in me when my own kind called me broken, Kix replied without fear. The commander was quiet for a long moment. Around him, his warriors waited for orders. Some of them seemed uncomfortable with what they were seeing. The humans' willingness to protect Kix, even knowing they would die, was something none of them had expected. Then, surprisingly, Zekthul ordered his warriors to lower their weapons. You present us with a problem we have never faced before, he told Captain Lee. Our laws say the young one belongs to the hive, but what we observe suggests he has become something we do not understand. We will think about this matter more carefully. As the Velani forces prepared to leave, several warriors looked back at Kix with expressions that were hard to read. Some seemed curious about this young one who had learned to stand so tall and speak so boldly. Human Captain, Zekthul, paused at the airlock. You have created something new that will be talked about across the galaxy. I hope you understand what this might lead to. Captain Lee watched the alien warships jump away into space, knowing this was not finished. But as she looked at her crew, her family, standing united around Kix, she felt proud in a way that had nothing to do with species or planets. Whatever happens next, she said quietly, we face it together. Kix looked around at the faces of the people who had been willing to die for him. Minho with his kind smile, So Young with her fierce determination, Jun Seo and Chang Min with their steady loyalty, and Captain Lee with her unwavering strength. Thank you, he said simply. Family does not thank family for being family, Captain, Lee replied, placing her hand on his shoulder. We just love each other and keep going. As the Morning Star continued on its journey, none of them knew that their small act of defiance had been recorded and broadcast across the galaxy, inspiring others and setting in motion events that would change everything. The news spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within days, every major news network was telling the story of the human crew that faced down a Velani war fleet to protect their adopted alien child. The recordings from the confrontation had been shared millions of times. Captain Lee Hee-jin found herself at the center of attention she never wanted. Every time the Morning Star docked at a station, reporters and curious people surrounded them. Cameras followed her wherever she went. Captain Lee, what do you say to people who think you are interfering with natural species development? Asked a news reporter as they loaded supplies at Kepler Station. I say that showing kindness is not interference, Lee replied, looking tired. Kix needed a family, and we needed him. It is that simple. But nothing was simple anymore. The effects were huge and spreading everywhere. 3 star systems away, a young Andromedian whose pod family had rejected them for being too emotional was found hiding on a human research ship. The scientists, inspired by the Morning Star story, decided to keep the young alien and help them grow. On the farming world of New Jeju, settled by Korean colonists generations ago, a group of abandoned crystalline children were discovered in the wasteland. The colonists, led by Mayor Park Ji-hoon, voted to take all of them in, even though it would cost a lot of money and resources. Communications officer Kim So-young tracked the reports coming from across human space. 23 cases this month, she told Captain Lee. Alien children looking for human ships and colonies. The Galactic Council is holding emergency meetings. Dr. Sarah Chen, a scientist who studied relationships between different species, came to visit the Morning Star to interview Kix personally. Her research would later help create new laws about cross-species families. What you have done here changes everything we thought we knew about how different species can relate to each other, Dr. Chen told Captain Lee after spending a week watching how the crew worked together. We have not done anything special except give a lost child a home, Lee replied. No, Captain. You have done something much more important. You have proven that family is not about biology. It is about choice, commitment, and loving someone no matter what. Meanwhile, the political effects continued to grow. The Velani hive councils were arguing among themselves. Some wanted stronger laws to keep their species pure, while others began questioning whether their strict social rules were actually hurting their people. Engineer Park Min-ho worked alongside Kix in the ship's repair shop, watching the young Villani solve a complex engine problem using methods no traditional Villani engineer would ever think of. "You know what I think?" Min-ho said as they finished fixing the engine. "I think your people are scared of what you represent." "What is that?" Kix asked, cleaning his tools with the careful precision he had learned from the human engineer. "Proof that their way is not the only right way. That maybe their so-called broken children are not actually broken, they are just different." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from Galactic Command. Captain Lee's face grew pale as she read it. "What is wrong?" asked Navigator Choi Junseo. "The Villani Hive Council has given us an ultimatum," Lee said quietly. "All humans keeping corrupted Villani must give them up within 30 days, or face a complete trade ban and possible war." The crew looked at each other with worry. They all understood what this meant. The happy months of building their new kind of family were about to face the biggest test yet. But the Morning Star was not alone anymore. Reports came in from across human space of other families facing the same demand. On New Sol Colony, 57, human families had adopted alien children of various species. On Earth itself, the government was debating whether to comply with the Villani demands or stand firm. "It is not just about us anymore," So Young said, reading the incoming messages. "There are thousands of mixed families now. If we give in, we abandon all of them." The most surprising support came from an unexpected source. Captain Zekthon of the Villani ship Cutting Edge sent a secret message to the Morning Star. His own clutch brother had been abandoned years ago for showing too much curiosity, and watching Kix's transformation had made him realize what his people were throwing away. "Not all Villani agree with the Council's decision," his message said. "Some of us are beginning to understand that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker." Kix stood taller than ever, his posture showing the confidence his human family had helped him develop. "Then we have 30 days to show them that some bonds cannot be broken by threats." Captain Lee smiled despite how serious the situation was. 30 days to prove that family is stronger than fear. As news of the ultimatum spread, something amazing began to happen. Ships from dozens of worlds started moving toward human space, not to attack, but to stand together. Families that had formed across species lines refused to be separated. The galaxy was about to learn whether love could truly overcome prejudice and fear, or if the forces of tradition and control would tear apart the new bonds that had formed between the stars.